Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with our first finalist, the greatest of all time, in the red, the finisher. It's Serral. Face it off against the best Protoss player out there. In the blue, the smiling assassin. It's herO. A best of 9 grand finals to determine the champion of the Masters Coliseum number 8. With thousands of dollars on the line, the biggest tournament so far in 2025. I have but one more thing to ask before we get started. It's to smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we? Quick. 1,520 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And I certainly hope it's about to get just a little bit better. herO walling off here on Neon Violet Square, our most dramatic map to start things off. A little Back to the Future. No, it's not 2018, the year Serral won the World Championship, one of them. But instead, back in the map pool. And I'm not surprised to see it right off the bat, because herO's style of keeping your opponent guessing works best when you're able to hide information. And with a Stargate hidden in the back of his base, on a map where you can almost certainly deny overlords, like the one trying to sneak around like a spy balloon in the back of the natural, I wouldn't be surprised to see some Void Ray openers, or even some crazy Twilight Council follow-ups. Though herO, of course, the master of Blink Stalkers as well, a Void Ray to kick things off and keep Serral guessing. Now, he's only committed one Overlord to the other side of the map, knowing that herO has a tendency to do exactly this. And in general, a good practice to cut down on your vulnerabilities. You already know the general trajectory of Protoss builds. If it's not a Stargate, it's pretty much all in. But the Stargate can cover for almost everything after it. And for those just joining for the first time, maybe in a little while, the newest balance patch has removed shield battery overcharge from the game. And for those just joining for the first time in a long time, shield batteries were added to the game. And welcome to Legacy of the Void. But shield battery overcharge replaced with energy recharge, an ability that for 50 energy on the Nexus can drop 100 energy on another unit or a shield battery. So in general, this makes Protoss more vulnerable to early attacks in certain ways, but allows you to juice up either a Oracle, a Sentry, or a High Templar with a bunch of extra energy, especially Oracles and High Templar, which allow them to have almost infinite energy to defend early on, or do scouting, or just the Swiss Army knife of Protoss that is the Oracle, whatever you're interested in doing. Or with High Templar, you pop out with 2 Storms, 50 to 150 energy, divide that in half, 75, that's how much Storm is. And it makes life a lot more difficult for Zerg players trying to attack. Now, Oracle gliding by, Revelation on that energy recharged Oracle. The Void Ray, the Queen's going to politely yet firmly ask the Void Ray to leave. Of course, the Void Ray can fly, the Queen's cannot. Not since the war. herO. Another important thing to note, the Spore Crawler actually got buffed. And the Queen slightly nerfed. The Queen now costs 25 more minerals. Everyone's suffering from inflation nowadays, but a hatchery costs 25 minerals less, and the Spore Crawler does 20 damage instead of 15 per hit, which means it can more easily take out things like Oracles and Void Rays. But it does have 100 less HP, 400 to 300, making it significantly more vulnerable in the later game or to direct attacks. So, kind of a nerf buff across the board. Oh, Void Ray burning through one of the Overlords that was just hanging out. Not under the protective umbrella, or whatever the opposite is. Is he just killing the Extractor? Hey! Sir, get off my lawn! Brenda, don't yell at the Protoss! They can't talk back, they don't have mouths. Shut up, Susan! Stop being weird, it's game 1. Well, herO successfully snipes an Extractor, and it only cost him most of his Void Ray. A Spire is on the way. One of the most rare things to see in this matchup at all, as Mutas are almost hard countered by the existence of a Stargate, and certainly not ideal against Blink Stalkers. But with herO committing everything at the front. Now, one, Serral almost never does this. In the last matchup these two played, like a week or two ago, herO won 2-1 against Serral. It was a much shorter series, but Serral has already started adapting, as Zergs have a tendency to do, and mixing things up, just trying to keep the Protoss guessing as much as the Zerg almost always are. But the Blink Stalkers, covered by the Oracles, making sure that Zerglings, Roaches, and Ravagers can't easily surround them. The first real aggression coming out, but Serral with 66 drones, full 3 base saturation, and 3 high-energy Oracles behind, is not vulnerable to getting overrun. But the question is how much damage he can get done, and how much fun that Serral is going to have. Fun's done. 8 Mutalisks in production. Could knock the Oracles out of the sky. And the fact is he hasn't scouted the Spire before the Mutas are already out of the eggs. In fact, he's not going to scout them potentially until they come across the map. And this could be an absolute disaster for herO. Mutas are not strong in a straight-up fight. They're not strong if you're prepared, but if you're completely blindsided by the angry flying rats, you're going to have a bad day, at the very least. The first Muta's coming out. I think he may have caught a glimpse of them. Serral triggering some of the stasis wards that dot the field behind the Blink Stalkers. Even more stasis on the way. The Mutas are headed across the map, completely avoiding confrontation, as again, they're more for backstabbing than front stabbing. Queen's coming up, but there's nothing. No cannons, no shield batteries, no phoenixes, no defenses whatsoever. The probes being ransacked by the Mutas, and Serral completely pulling one over on herO in game number 1. He has to recall his Blink Stalkers. He's already lost a dozen probes and counting. And the Mutas, this is the end of it. This is all the Mutas that Serral ever wanted. No matter how much damage they did, that was going to be the end of it. As now herO has to react to the Mutas, and Serral is coming across the map already with a 30 supply lead. He's now opened up the entirety of this massive map. It's going to be very, very difficult for herO to really retake the initiative. Now, he's not going to die immediately. The Queen, assassinated by the Oracles. The Oracles are now limited, as the Mutas can just come back around and potentially take him out. But Serral instead is keeping the Mutas hidden. There are Phoenixes on the way. herO does have the back base, which has a double gas, though not too many minerals. So, a bit of a mixed bag on the back base there. Serral now just taking it for himself, as Zerg usually prioritize having more minerals because they have such mineral-intensive units, and sinking things into like Queens and Roaches and Zerglings. Whereas Protoss are a little heavier on the gas with their high-tech fancy lasers and such. But for now, both players will have the back base. Mutas come back around, and the Phoenix count should be high enough. He actually recharges an Oracle, slaps a Revelation, which will make it a lot easier. herO still has enough army supply to be dangerous. Serral cut a lot of the upgrades of his Lings and Banes and just his general ground army in order to get these Mutas out. And the Mutas still on the field, getting chased down by the Phoenixes. And the Phoenixes will eventually be able to cut them down. Though, the more difficult it is, the more time Serral buys for himself. And most importantly, herO does not have Psionic Storm. Without access to Psi-Storm, this army is still very dangerous. The Banelings are crashing in. He blinks all the way away. The stasis will actually catch some of the Lings and Banes, and the squares themselves will help to mitigate some of the damage as the Stalkers file through, blinking back behind the squares. I'm not exactly sure how much Serral wants to go through here. The squares, there's no right angle at this point. Meanwhile, the Phoenix is coming back around. It looks like some of the Mutas were able to escape. 50 more Zerglings on the way. Scatters some corrosive biles out, clips a handful of Stalkers, but herO still going forward with a remarkably cost-effective unit composition. Really using the map and its unique squares in order to maximize the effectiveness. And behind it, the fleet beacon is lit. He's got a fleet beacon in production, but the action's still happening on the field. And he wants to head to that late-game sky toss, but he has to survive for long enough first, and without Psi-Storm, it's going to be increasingly difficult. Banelings rolling in. The Stalkers get down probes! But the Stalkers are able to hold the line for now, jamming themselves into the corner. And behind it, some charge lots of the counterattack. herO strikes back. He's about to have +3 ground weapons, and is actually taking out a lot of the Zerg on the way as well. Serral has 86 drones. He actually got the gold base to the north side, but herO is still holding. He's building 2 carriers at a time, but I have to keep coming back. Templar Archives is by far the most important thing. Without Psystorm, he's going to have an almost impossible time of dealing with the constant Zerg aggression. Did Serral actually rebuild some mutas? I believe he did. I was wrong. He decided the mutas were worth it. I think the Phoenixes died in that last fight. Yeah, just kind of incidentally. So without the Phoenixes, Serral is still going to have an opportunity to carve out the probes at the mutas. He's killed 10 more in the last few seconds, made his way around the bases, spots the stasis, triggers it with a few Zerglings, and of course the stasis keeps him protected. It's just a temporary delay, not a solution. Meanwhile, Lings and Banes are rolling through. Looking, oh, the probes on the run! He doesn't quite have +3 melee, so he can't one-shot the probes. The stasis, while he got the cannon carrier, has arrived. And Serral is back in the main with the mutas killing probes as well. The roaches and ravagers will eventually be taken down, and herO is struggling. He's holding on, but by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth right now. The Blink Stalkers forced to be warped into the main, but Serral almost doubling the worker count, which is good and bad, because Serral's supply is now limited to about 120 army supply. Well, a little less than that even. The muta's over a little high ground on the advertising pillar there. herO can't actually see him on that little pervert pillar that's usually for the overlords. But a mothership is on the way. The mothership is no longer a meme. It's no longer just simply made out of paper. But instead, the mothership is fully come into its own. No, it doesn't have its vortex back. But instead, it is no longer abductable. No longer can the flying city be yanked by a single Viper and its fancy straw. And it has more damage output potential as well by attacking 4 targets at once. So the mothership is, a lot of the time, the finishing move against Zerg, as opposed to a utility tool of questionable veracity. Meanwhile, the fleet beacon is sniped off by the Zerglings. Kind of an important part of things. The Templar Archives is just now finishing. And herO, he's holding on, but Serral is getting an Ultraless Cavern. And as Hydra once said, a great man, arguably, and quite a strong Zerg player. When I'm really far ahead and I want to lose, I build Ultras. Now, Ultras are better than they were at that time, over a decade ago, for those counting. I wouldn't. It's a bit painful. But at the same time, Serral here wants to take out everything on the ground with the Ultras so Corruptors can wipe the rest out of the sky. It is a 2-pronged process of sweeping things away. And right now, the stasis, good. Enough Zerglings caught that Serral will back off. And the Banelings are going to trickle through, actually eating some hits directly on the face of the Stalkers, which Baneling's not quite effective against, but quantity is a quality all its own. The Corruptors heading towards the main. Caustic Spray on the main Nexus. I think just trying to draw things out of position. He may just kill the Nexus, which it's not important for mining, but as herO runs out of mining locations, it's easier to narrow down attack paths. And in fact, the mutas actually killed so many probes earlier. The main base still had some minerals and gas ready to go, but here comes herO. He's gonna try to do a counterattack before Serral can put together the complete anti-air death ball. Knocks the carrier out of the sky, the Stalkers, chasing down. Those Corruptors have +1 attack, so not an overwhelming upgrade advantage. He's not going to be able to wipe the mothership out of the sky instantaneously, but it's pretty close. The balance between having a ground army and an anti-air army, well, Queens kind of cover both things. But the drones on the... Where are the drones going? But the drones on the run, counterattacking Zerglings with adrenal glands as well. The Stalkers will take out the hatchery, and Ultra trying to shove its way through. One of the new updates as well. And 2 Archons will be caught. herO recalls back. Serral has money in the bank. He's just chewing up the Stalkers. And what did he even recall? I mean, a few Stalkers, I guess, but mothership coming back. Ultras can't get through the squares as they're far too thick. The Archons actually can slip through, making them quite effective in this center area of the map, but Serral does not have to engage here. And once you get close to any of the bases, the map opens up again. The healers behind The Queen's time warp, but he just runs right past it. Enough Overseers that active cloaking is nothing. The Mothership will be knocked out of the sky. The Archon still helping out a lot. Last Carrier will be taken down as well, but the Ultras will evaporate as the Stalkers and Archons have enough damage. A few more probes. Does he have Burrow? 8 Ultralisks! 8 Ultra. I've never seen Serral build this many Ultras. At least not in like the last 3 years. So, this is a get out of my game of Ultras. A GG of Ultras, if you would. As the Stalkers, pretty good against 1 or 2. Maybe 4 or 5, but 8 is certainly too many. As the Ultras, the Queens try to hold it together with the Transfuses, not quite enough. There's an Archon at half HP. The Caustics, the Corruptor's gonna kill out a base. The Queens and the Ultras, and I think it's just too much. herO is down 100 supply. And GG, game 1 goes to Serral. The Muta choice, and then Ultras. We're checking off all the bingo cards in game 1. Well, beautifully done. herO, a very capable job considering the start he had. But Serral just pulled it over on him. The Mutas were devastating. They did exactly what they needed to do and then some. They kept herO so busy that he couldn't actually put together that death ball that usually rolls across the map, trampling every Zerg not named Serral underneath it. So we're going in to another somewhat nostalgic yet modern map. We're going to Abyssal Reef. Game 2. With Serral showing that he's already adapted somewhat to the later game potential of Protoss nowadays. Never really letting... I think there were storms by the end, but I don't think it mattered. By the time we got there. As Psystorm was needed by the time the first Sky Toss units were coming out. But it just was not there. Very simply. Serral not bothering to try to take his Natchery that quickly, but instead just heading out towards the third base. herO spots it. There's been some back and forth with the hatcheries now costing 275 and Queens 175. Some players have tried to get the hatchery on the low ground, just on your natural location where you'd like to have it, more quickly with extractor tricks and other overlord timings, but Serral seems, for the most part, to be a man of consistency, as you know, and has not bothered with any of those sort of silly attempts, but instead has just taken his third. herO, of course. Well, I think herO... Oh, herO. Another creative wall. Always interesting to see the architectural decisions that herO comes up with on a regular basis. I've never seen anyone so consistently inconsistent with how they wall off. I don't even know if it's a lack of practice. I don't think herO has a lack of practice. I think it's just who herO is. And historically throughout StarCraft too, Protoss players, the most successful, most iconic Protoss, have been, how do I put this nicely? A little insane. Parting, SOS, Zest, MC. These players have always been, with the notable exceptions of players like Stats and Neeb, but always been a little unhinged and acting like they have another card to play at all times. And that's why, even though Max Pax is, I think without a doubt, a technically more accomplished player, Protoss will always benefit a player who has that sort of killer instinct and willingness to push the line of risk-reward far past something that insurance companies would sneeze at. So, herO has some of the highest highs, but they're accompanied by the lowest lows. He's been a man of intense excitement and disappointment, sometimes simultaneously, in much the way Serral has not. So I don't think we could get two more different players in this finals. And I think if herO ends up beating Serral... Oh, by the way, just to go back to last year, which you should have watched before this so you could see the prequel of Masters Coliseum. The last finals was herO versus Serral, where Serral won. I forget the scoreline, but Serral did end up taking it pretty decisively. There's been a couple balance patches since then, but the more things change, the more they stay the same. And here we are, the rematch. And Serral actually had his military service in Finland for 6 months last year, is about the requirement. And also, he was in a special program for high-level athletes and was able to practice for things like the World Cup. He wasn't practicing as much as he would have, obviously, if he was just at home practicing normally, but he wasn't completely out of it either. I mean, he got to the finals of the World Cup, and then Clem, well, put on a clinic, but Clem's not here. But Serral feels like if anyone's going to figure out this new patch and how to deal with things like a rush to Sky Toss, well, the fleet beacon is lit. The first thing, nothing, no Twilight, no Forge. He's got a third Nexus, and then a fleet beacon. Straight to what I'm gonna assume is Tempest, though could be Mothership and Carriers. Though I think he's gonna go Tempest first. Oracle comes in. Stasis actually catches a few really? Coming in for another round. It doesn't reset. If they're already in stasis, they can't be affected by anything, which includes another stasis. All right, that's double jeopardy. That's illegal. What's it gonna be? So, Tempest, I'll admit, a buff that I kind of laughed at, but has become kind of meaningful. Tempests have had their supply cost reduced from 5 to 4, which is less. And that means you can build, if you have 10 Tempests in your army, you've now got enough supply for 5 more High Templar. Usually you don't have 10, it's more like 6 to 8 is the number in order to be able to one-shot most. What is this? herO! herO somehow making me both right and wrong all at the same time by going Tempest and Carrier. Is this a Tempest to convince Serral he's going Tempest and then he goes Carrier so that way he's unprepared? Or is he just freestyling? You know, porque no los dos? Why not both? And now he's going to... Yes. Oh my. He's going... Who does... Oh, herO. I give it to, like... 30... No. Like, 78%. 0.6 repeating, of course. Chance that he built the Tempest just to get Serral to react to Tempest, and now he's going Flux Veins Void Rays? Is that real? Yeah, like, why would he be hiding that? Why would he be faking? He wants Serral to go Corruptors, so he can go Void Rays with speed, but now he's using the Carriers to clear. Where did the Tempest go? What? So Tempest can one-shot drones and probes. Not SCVs, of course, but... So, Tempest Worker Harass is like a very loud and expensive liberator. And as the queens... Hey, this is the Hatchery Owners Association. Respectfully, this is a no-fly zone. No, Brenda, it's just you can't fly. It's not a no-fly zone. Shut up, Susan! I don't want to hear it. We said we wouldn't talk about this since the war. I've had enough of your... Brenda, the Tempest. Nobody can even see it. We're talking about this at the next HOA meeting. Or get off my creep! I'm sorry. I blacked out for a moment. Nexus taken out. As the 4th base on this map for both sides, quite difficult to assault if they have air control, as it's the most vulnerable part of it is the mineral line, where you can attack from the low ground up to the high, where their workers usually are. But it appears Serral going straight to Corruptors. The Oracle is looking to take out the Queens, but the Queens, Transfuse is holding it together. And Corruptors in the sky now. Already up to 5. Well, he's building 3 carriers at a time. He's getting double cyber core. We've got +2 air weapons, +1 air armor, and +1 shields. So, herO, but again, Steve, the water shark, which is just like normal shark, but so map makers in all their genius figured out how to put a shark shadow on the map, which is just put a shark up close to the light source, which is kind of hilarious. But Serral will melt through the natural. If he loses only 1 or 2 Corruptors, he takes out an Oracle as well. He lost 3 Corruptors. He got the second base. He got an Oracle. I think that was worth it. I mean, and now the creep spread is coming up. The soul stroll as the Queens are coming across the map. The carriers, the Queen push is coming together. As the Overlord's providing the creep as well. He's underneath on all this, and we've arrived! As the anti-air, well, mostly transfuses. The Queen's here for support on the Corruptors, but if they're off the creep, they can't transfuse or provide any anti-air, and it looks like there might be a critical mass here. Oh, corrosive bile, but he's able to slip out of the way, kills his own Overseer. A few Void Rays in the mix, those Flux Veins coming into play. Though, it's a bit of a mess. The Golden Swarm of Interceptors starting to grind through the Corruptors. The Corruptors have no upgrades. In fact, Serral only has +1 melee, whereas herO has +1 air attack and shields. And that air attack upgrade is incredibly important for the Interceptors. Interceptors have 2 relatively low damage attacks, so upgrading those attacks against something without any defense upgrades really does scale well. Unfortunately, Serral's going to manage to snipe the Cyber Core with the Corruptors, thus increasing the value of those same Corruptors significantly. But Void Rays, with their ability to charge up with Prismatic Alignment, which only does bonus damage versus Armored, stop lighting it up against Zerglings. Just because it's a bigger beam doesn't mean it does more damage. It is kind of unintuitive, I will say. But it only does bonus damage to Armored. Queens are not armored. Corruptors are armored. Ravagers, surprisingly, not armored. Roaches, though, are armored. Fun game, right? Ghosts, also not armored, nor light. Fun fact. Your mother, also not light. Fun fact. Speaking of, Mothership is on the way. As herO once again decides that Storm is a little bit too much to ask for, but instead, sometimes herO is by far the best diamond player to play in tournaments. He's once again refusing to get Psionic Storm. He has no indication of it whatsoever. We don't have a Twilight Council. There's only 1 Forge. He's getting a Mothership and mass Void Ray, because of course he is. Oh, herO. Now, it very well might work, because Serral right now is just getting a hive. He committed a lot to that attack. He's working on +1 upgrades across the board. Got some Infestors on the way. We might see some Microbial Shroud in action. In fact, this is one of the few scenarios that Microbial Shroud makes some sense. So Microbial Shroud reduces the damage of everything under the Shroud, or that gets hit by the Shroud with the new patch, by 50% from air, which is a pretty niche scenario, because usually you're dealing with ground units, you're dealing with Storm, but in this scenario exactly, where there is no Storm and the ground army is 2 Tickle Beamers, aka Sentries, Microbial Shroud actually is even a better choice, arguably, than Fungal with this many Corruptors. Because all you need to do is make sure your ground army, which is going to be Infestors and Queens, does not die immediately, so that way the Corruptors can do the rest of the work. And with the Wombo Combo potential of Vipers as well, and some a bit of a Sporchard put together here by Serral, and making sure... How many Queens? Wow. The Queen's mood has come together, a dozen Queens, the Void Ray's in position, but Serral has Vipers with enough energy for Parasitic Bomb. Might be able to jump, and Void Ray's immensely vulnerable to it. There's he's making his Spire great again. We've got Tectonic Destabilizers on the way for the Tempest. He saw how many spore crawlers there were, and he realizes that maybe, just maybe, this is going to go a little later. As Serral gets the laundry list, Neural Parasite, +2 Air Carapace, Burrow, Adrenal Glands, +2 Ranged Attack, +2 Ground Carapace. Get over here. No. Yanks out 1, 2 carriers, but he's actually got to be a little bit careful. He yanks a carrier even further. Don't get in the van with the Vipers. So, here's the thing. His hero's upgrades are so good that Serral has to be a little careful about yanking the carriers because he can't kill them that quickly. Got Stargate Command over here. 6 Stargates. He's up to 20 cannons. He's building 4 Tempests at a time. And Psy Storm as well. herO is battening down the hatches as the storms are coming. Of course, it's his, so that's probably a good thing. But meanwhile, Serral is building his bank. He managed to take a lot of the map. herO. Okay, herO was trying to free up supply by killing, I think, his probes, but he misclicked on his Nexus. Which would be quite a, Oh, we were talking about Hydra games. MMA. Good times. 5 Broodlords on the way. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Broodlord Infestor. The ultimate late game composition. Yes, it's been nerfed about 36 times, but it remains the most reliable way to have a late game siege composition that can actually contest the air. This is like direct strike. What are you doing? Where are you going, sentries? No! No, the sentries! Attack! He burrows the infestor. The Sentry Strike Force. I feel like having a couple sentries is kind of important, though, for Guardian Shield. Apparently, herO does not feel the same, or he just misrallied them, but it's kind of unclear. Serral getting rid of his 1 Roach. The Roach Ravager come together. 27 cannons, 10 more on the way. The CPM is so high. And I'm not talking about ad revenue. Like and subscribe. Feedback. Hits a Viper. If he can knock the Vipers out of the equation before the fight starts, that is over half the battle. The Vipers are probably the most important, but oh no, the fungal hits! And he knocks them out of the sky with a corrosive bile. The Void Ray is vulnerable to spell casting on multiple fronts, and Serral is quite the wizard. Spore Crawler's knocking down Void Rays. herO just kind of sauntering in, working his way through. Feedbacks on the Infestors, just popping them like overripe tomatoes. Time Warp on the Broods. Ravagers being sliced away, but not a great fight by herO. But he manages to pop some Infestors, gets a bunch of the Ravagers. He's lost about the same amount of gas, and he has a similar amount of bases, and he's starting to build his bank as well. Both players around 80 workers, but Serral continues to build that late game composition with upgrades. He's getting, once again, he's going to be leaning into the Ultralisks. Microbial Shroud on the Queens. Put Karen in front. She can take a pounding. You guys are so mean to me. We all saw the video, Karen. All right, we know it was Colin, but that's the feedbacks and the Tempest working together, and Microbial Shroud is helpful, but he's not actually. Serral's waiting for something. Titan's plating is on the way. I don't know how many. He's just trying to buy some space here. A fungal. Looks for the Wombo combo. Knocks out the Observer. The Oracles are at the back. Vipers have near full energy. There aren't any upgrades finishing anytime soon. A few Ultras on the way. The Spore Crawlers have bought time. He storms the Changelings. The Tectonic Destabilizers with their huge damage bonus to buildings. Helping clear the spores very quickly. But another fungal combo doesn't quite rain it down on top of the Tempest. Those 3-4 Ultras appear to be what Serral is waiting for. Continuing to move forward. The Queen's taking a lot of hits. Feedback. Storm on the Microbial Shroud. And the Queens eating the damage, trying to tank. The feedbacks are good. Are there any more storms? The Ultra just gonna cleave through the Templar, but double feedback on the Vipers. A fungal on the entire army. Wow, that Ultra died so fast. Even with chitinous plating and +2 armor, the combined lasers of the Sky Toss are more than enough. And herO is starting to just slice his way through, blasting through the Spore Crawlers. He's taken out most of the Spellcasters. There are 25 more Corruptors on the way, a full Congress of Corruptors in production. And the Tempest with +2 armor and shields are actually able to tank these Corruptor volleys. Serral expecting to be able to one-shot the Tempest, but it's just not enough. His army is going to be effectively just Corruptors. 40 Corruptors! A couple Ultras underneath to take out the Templar. They will be successful. The storm's on everything and everyone. It doesn't discriminate. Parasitic bomb on the mothership will force everything away. The Corruptors are starting to get whittled down. The mothership is still alive. More Templar are coming up, but they don't have energy for storm. And the mothership may be the last thing. I think he tried to recall something. It's unclear what. Maybe trying to get away with the mothership? Serral wins the battle in the sky. And herO is down to 136 supply. herO has now lost 600 more over the last 3 minutes. Actually, herO ends up losing a lot more minerals in this. Wait, no, the other way around. Resources lost is how much they killed. It's just a bit of a translation thing here. So herO actually killed 5,000 more minerals, but 700 less gas. So he's actually sending his probes out now because he has a bit of a problem with his worker count. The Broodlords, which I don't know if they even participated in the fight, but they're here now. The Carriers and Templar. Is that a wall? Did he wall off with his own cannons? Of course he did. He's lost now 8 cannons. He has 10 more in production. They're going to be over 50 cannons. Microbial shrouds on every... Oh, that's a mistake. Oh, no. Serral was trying to spread his creep tubers, but he hit the microbial shroud button with rapid fire. What a weird problem. That is the weirdest misclick. They're on the same hotkey by default. And it appears Serral... Now, I don't know if herO noticed. That's the only thing. The infestors are pretty much out of energy because he accidentally shrouded everything. Which I don't think is the... I think that may be the only time I've ever said that or will ever say that, but... The Ultras are just cleaving through the cannons because they're Ultras and cannons are the one thing they can easily fight. Parasitic bomb dives with the Corruptors on top of everything. The infestors are underneath. Storm is washing across the board. Cataclysmic storms for both sides. The Carriers will survive much of it, but a lot of them wiped out by the parasitic bomb and the storms themselves. Shield batteries. Another ship is on the way. And herO, both herO and Serral, running out of resources, but 16 more Corruptors in production, and losing that northern base to the Ultralisk is a massive blow to herO's economy. He doesn't have that well, Serral's mining off of 3-4 bases of fresh gas geysers. Relatively fresh. I take it back. The income and the gas income is comparable right now. The army supply for Serral, though, 120. He still has to actually... No, he doesn't have to kill herO. But... I think he may have done it. It's kind of hard, because with these fights, you can't just go, especially as Zerg, if you take a small victory, because there's so much backstop. But you can use it to keep them from expanding and limit that economy. But here comes herO in with what might be the last army he can build for the near future. Serral doesn't have that much going for him either, but there's the active cloaking. Infestors coming up. Incinerating Zerglings with the mothership. Huge fungal. Hits every single Templar. The Broodlord's trying to help out. Parasitic bomb. Hits the midst of everything. Wombo combo alongside the fungals. Another parabomb. Shading it together. The Broodlords are raining down, mostly hitting the Zealots for now. But the Void Rays have almost evaporated. More storms on the Corruptors. But the carriers are dead. The Mothership is vulnerable. The ground army is gone. And Serral will be taking 2 in a row. Serral will be taking 2 in a row, herO. I do appreciate how herO fights to the bitter end. He doesn't just tap out. He evaluates, he looks around, and he says, yeah, I'm super dead. He had 0 army supply at the end. But what a game. It was still a bit dicey, and honestly, herO felt a bit, there was a bit of tunnel vision there, to say the least. The storms were good, but Serral forced herO to storm himself just as often as he was storming Serral. Like, I bet as many interceptors died to storm as died to anything Serral had. So, herO with the immediate Sky Toss rush is unable, though very close to claiming a victory. Serral now has taken more games against herO than he did in the entirety of their last series, which is a very dramatic way of saying he lost 2-1. But we're going to Frostline, which is actually a map that many Protoss players significantly dislike against Zerg. Abyssal Reef and Neon Violet Square are maps that Serral, I'm sure, is happy to win. And yes, it's not by default Serral's winning everything nowadays. As you could tell, he goes for the 15-15. All right, we got to talk about the minutia of Zerg larva mechanics. Thank you for coming to my TEDx talk. So, because of the cheaper expansions and the way everything works, if you go for anything but a scout at the beginning of the game, the probe does not get there in time to block you from taking this hatchery as a hatchery down on the low ground. If you go for an extractor trick and then the hatchery before Overlord. So Serral went for the 15-14 extractor trick, and then he went for it again. And then he built an Overlord. And that means his spawning pool is actually a little delayed, as well as his economy in general. You're going to be 1 or 2 less drones down from where you'd usually be. The second Overlord is a little slower, but the major benefit, and most Zergs consider it a major benefit, including Serral, it seems here, is getting your hatchery somewhere where Adepts and Oracles can't make it a nightmare to deal with. herO, what is this wall? There's a method to the madness. I'm just not sure anyone, including herO, knows what it is. herO, I mean, you can technically wall with that, but I'm pretty sure Zerg... You know what? I'm not going to quit. We're just not going to worry about it. Until it becomes a problem for someone, we're not going to discuss herO's walling. Okay? It's taboo. Taboo. Just... No. All right. For some reason, that word sounds wrong to me, but... that means it's just taboo. Moving on. The probe, mildly to moderately annoying some drones. The Zerglings will come out to try to deal with it, but should be able to get away. But Serral may micro them a bit to make sure it is as stressed out as possible. Warp gate begins. Stargate, of course. Halfway done. And as we get into it, I'd like to thank SC Boy, the organization, and Masters Coliseum for putting on these events, of course, sending them out to me, and the community, and just having StarCraft events at all. I know that was a bit of a ham-fisted way to say it, but I do appreciate the format. It's kind of a GSL-style tournament. You saw some of the matches from the group stage, then the playoffs. It gives players an opportunity to kind of prepare for their opponents, and I think we're seeing some of that now. You don't know exactly who you're going to play, but you can narrow it down to 1 or 2 players and have some days to prepare, which makes it a little different than many of your online tournaments, because usually those are held over the course of a weekend, and there's 16, 32 players, and you could be playing either all Protoss, all Terran, or very occasionally all Zerg nowadays. The Adepts jammed into the corner. They just kind of die, which was sad. Not sure what hit the old make them feel bad about murdering helpless adept strategy. I'm not sure that one's going to be a great long-term value. herO, what? No. But he doesn't have any units in the wall. Nope, we're not. No. Not only does he not have any units, but he's got 2 Oracle is working on the 3rd base, making it moderately annoying. The queens come down to drive it away. Honestly, so far, herO has been playing well, but he's also falling into the kind of tunnel vision trap. He's getting so close to doing decisive damage. But I feel like part of that is Serral letting him have enough success to bait him into those sort of fights. Like in the fight in the center of the map last game, where he kept kind of letting damage get done. He loses a queen here, lose some spores, even lose the hatch. But he ends up killing a lot of key units because he just waited so long and he drew them in to this sort of engagement. And so far, it really feels like Serral is dictating the pace of things, even if herO is the one on attack most of the time. The Shady Bunch coming in. The Triumvirate of Oracles. Ooh, we're doing a bit of a spicy build here. Half a dozen Adepts, 3 Oracles with plenty of energy. This is quite a threat. There's no Resonating Glaives, but with the Oracles, you can cover the Adepts from anything but the Queens. And even with the Queens, if the Zerglings aren't there, the Adepts can combine with the Oracles, and then you got a bit of a problem. Oh no. Okay, well, here we go. It's gonna get weird. The Queens. Get off my Brenda, oh my god. Well, that was dumb. That was really bad. It was very obvious what herO wanted to do. He wanted to shade in and cover with the Oracles, so he did it. And Serral had been prepared for like 30 seconds, so that was a disaster. He lost 8 Adepts at an Oracle. He killed 23 Zerglings in total. 3 drones? 3 drones. That was not enough. This is very bad. That was by far the worst move of the series so far from herO. Now, that doesn't mean Serral can just come across and win the game, but it does. Ooh, and a stasis is very helpful at the 3rd base, but it does mean that Serral has full map control. He's going to use it to get some Hydras. He's going to use it to double expand. He's getting +1 melee. And now herO's moving out. He's going to have +1 in blank. But the Hydra Den's already going to be done. So, he needs to get some pressure with this blank. But Serral is double expanded, which means he can just give up a base. I'm not sure he's just going to give it up for free, but all he wants is one of these bases. Getting both would be amazing, but the entire point of expanding like this is to hedge your bets. 11 Hydras on the way. There's a Templar Archives, so now herO needs to survive until Storm, which has been the story of the series so far, but in this game especially, 73 drones, he's just pumping Hydras. He's going to be a little supply block because of the amount of Overlords on the edge of the crate, but already replacing them. And it's just Blink Stalkers for now, up against upgraded Zerglings. The Templar Archives is part of the wall-off, which is ambitious, and also means Serral has clearly scouted it. So Serral is trying to set up a flank already. You can see it on the minimap to deal with this. The Queen's tanking some of the damage. There's a few stasis wards. Zerglings coming in, trickling in. A big stasis could turn this, but it's really got to cut off most of the Zerglings or like half of the Hydras in order to be successful. Serral does not have Hydra speed on the way, despite having 500, like he has a 900 gas in the bank. So that's actually quite an oversight there. And Baneling's on the way, 73 drones against 69 probes, which is nice enough for herO, but Baneling speed is done. Plenty of Banes on the way. And Serral is going to, at the very least, focus on denying a 4th base. The Templar. Storm is like 15 seconds out. Closing in now. I'm sure he's chrono boosting, but here come the Banelings. 5 seconds on Storm. He's gonna have it. It's done. And he storms in the midst of the Hydras. The Banelings looking for an angle. He blinks forward. And the Stalkers on their own. Energy recharge. Great storm on the Banes. Oh, and the stasis is massive. Oh, no. Serral actually caught with the vast majority. And that may have just saved the game for herO. The Blink Stalkers come in. They will clean up the rest. And he could deal with half the army at a time. 15 probes died. I think some Banelings... Yeah, very clearly some Banelings made it by. And more Banelings are going to try, but the Templar Archives wall, and now the Stalkers blinking in. And Serral actually took his sweet time moving across the map with the Hydras, partially because he didn't have that Hydra speed. And now herO has a very capable ground army with a decent economy. He kept his 4th base. He has Templar. His Oracles are still alive to help clear. And now Serral has to abandon his alternative 4th. What a turnaround. The moment Storm completed, this game turned on its head. Serral still has a very solid army. He might be able to just go kill the 4th. herO does not have that sort of leeway where he can just afford to give up a base. The Templar out in the center. Serral will try to surround him. The Oracles out of energy entirely. But even more Zerglings going down. The army supplies are dangerously close to even. herO has +2 ground weapons as he comes across the map yet again. The Oracle's completely drained on energy. Almost taken down by the Hydras. 1 Templar looking for a big storm near full energy. So 2 storms and then some. He only has a couple Templar with this army. The Banelings, but there just aren't that many probes to hit. He just goes into the cannon, gets 3 probes with it. herO. That 4th base, a single cannon. Morlings and Banes gonna soften him up with a Templar, but one of them gets caught on the Hydras. A second... That was the last Templar with this army, and the Zerglings are overrunning the base, though the Stalkers are warped in a great position. 1 Templar with the army. The Blink Stalkers, Archon's caught out between a rock and a hard place. And Serral's starting to pick off some... you need the storms. That is not optional. Against many of these unit compositions, the Stalkers are being surrounded. Serral splits off a few Zerglings, kills 10 probes. And the Stalkers will eventually clean things up. But herO, well, the supplies are actually dangerous here for Serral. He keeps splitting off a lot of his army to get counter damage done. And despite the fact it looks good for him, the reason why he's getting this damage done is he's cutting his economy. So herO is still in a very competitive position. Especially considering Serral just got an infestation pit, just now got a lurker den. So herO will have soon to be 2 robotics facility. Clearly anticipating lurkers. He's correct. He may have scouted it. Either way. And the thing about this map, there's not that many bases, which is good and bad for both sides. But it's pretty clear where both players are going to expand. And whoever has map control can really focus on narrowing down the options. herO's Blink Stalkers continue to find success across the field. As he retreats to his double pylon wall. Some charge lots coming in. The Banelings rolling in behind. Whoa. Getting quite an efficient trade against the charge lots. And another army to the north. He set up a couple stasis wards, which, if Serral's not paying attention, could actually be very significant. A recall to the north side, including the Templar. A stasis on the Banes in the midst of the mineral line. And another massive recall save from herO. But this one is very dicey. There are Banelings in stasis next to the mining probes. herO, please take this seriously. Oh my. The Banelings will... Yeah, so I'm not worrying too much about it. And the Templar will die, but some storms thin out the Zerglings beautifully. And again, herO stays very competitive on supply, but 10 lurkers are done. I just don't know where they went. Here we are. Center of the map. Trying to chase it down. Some more up to the north side, but herO is ahead on supply. But the lurkers are changing that quickly. As the Hydra's in a great position. Well, it's a mixed bag here. The lurkers are dangerous, but there's really not that much else. He blinks into the lurkers and maybe a bit more than he bargained for. 11 probes dead as the Banelings roll into the 4th. Finally finding a solid fight. Immortals, Blink Stalkers go forward. The lurkers do not have their range upgrade, making it a little difficult for them to be in a good position. There are a couple of Immortals. There's still one Storm ready. 15 probes dead. He's gonna try. Oh, he blocks on the lurkers. herO. I have no idea. Is it good enough? No, it's an absolute disaster. herO goes from almost even on supply to down 30. A huge storm kills some of the lurkers, gets a few drones. The queens are coming up. What is the army? The 4th base, some Zerglings coming by, Immortals as well. Immortals rallied across the map. The queens will angrily drive everything else out. He didn't kill the base. He didn't finish off the lurkers. I don't know if he actually killed any of those drones with Storm. He's only killed 5 drones, but got 444 Zerglings. Serral has been on thin ice this entire game, but it's starting to freeze over here on Frostline. herO, in very herO fashion, gambles it all. And sometimes when you gamble, you lose. I think now, the fact that he brought this game back to where it was is a testament to his skill and his tenacity. And the way it's ending is also a testament to his skill and his tenacity. Serral now has range lurkers against a herO who cannot go Sky Toss. The army is Immortals and Templars exclusively, which are the best units to have in this scenario. Well, I've counted out herO once. Maybe I should stop doing math. This time, though, Serral has the economy. He might not have the drone count. 69 is nice enough, but he has 6 bases. He has all the bases on his side. He's working on herO. That's the key part of this. And now, 1 lurker up to the north, the rest of the army to the south. There's nothing to stop this. The Zerg are going straight through. There is no answer. A recall on top of a base that is beset by lurkers. He can kill the Templar before the storms come out. A energy recharge. Revelation on the vast majority of the lurkers, and he's still working his way through. But the units are thinning out far too dramatically. Wow. herO's still making such a game of it. And Serral always has another... he has the kicker. That attack to the north will be the end. And Serral takes 3 in a row. A heartbreaking loss for herO. Because it started out so poorly, almost turned all the way around. And then, just as it looked like he was knocking on the door of victory, it swung back in his face and knocked him back into the street. Disastrous. But, and a shaky game, not a shaky game for Serral, but just a demonstration of how thin those margins can be. And now, Serral up 3. This is a best of 9, which means you need 5. You see, I can do that math. Still, it does feel like they're evenly matched. But Serral, well, Serral has herO's number now. 3 times in a row. But we're far from done. We're going into El Dorado. Serral with a 14 hatch, it looks like. Wow, not even doing the extractor trick. herO, I think, sent the probe... Well, he sent the probe out with the pylon, which means he's not quite there in time. I don't know if you can even get there in time, if they're that committed to getting the hatch. But probe gets in. We'll take a look around. extractor trick just to pump out another drone and not overmax on the larva. Exhausting. I do think 2 of these games. Game 1 felt like Serral had all the initiative, but games 2 and 3, a couple seconds here or there, and herO could have easily taken it back. So I would be immensely surprised if this ends up as a clean sweep, even though it is Serral. But also, Serral's back is the summary. You can already tell, just compared. You know, I would not put it past Serral for anything but, like, the grand finals, to kind of just default, to not show whatever new styles or strategies he's been working on. That seems like the sort of thing Serral would do. What is this wall? So maybe there's some of that factoring in as well. Apologies. Allergic to filler commentary in the early game. Had to sneeze off camera. Now had to draw attention to it to make it less weird, but now it's even more weird because I drew attention to it. Moving on. Stargate is on the way. Serral takes the southern side base. Now, this map can really turn into either a brawl on the southern side, a full macro a duel to the north, or it's really a mixed bag, depending on how herO wants to play it from here. If herO expands to the south side, we're going to see some early timers from either side, because they're just so jammed in together. But, obviously herO's aware of what's going on. This map is our most creative, our most unique, our most likely to feature some early shenanigans. Serral doesn't have Zergling speed. Where did the gas go? I guess he just started mining it. This may have been a gasless build to start. In fact, I think it's likely at this point. Oracle's on the way. herO 4 for 4 with Stargate so far. Oh, the Adept on the high ground. He's got 3 kills. Ends up getting 1 drone, 8 lings. Not a bad take for these Adepts. And keeps the Queens busy. So he can come in, but there is a Spore Crawler in position. So that's Serral in a bit of an awkward position. What? He's just building 4 gates. Do you know what year it is, herO? I don't know. He's been doing 4 gates for pretty much the entirety of SC2. So, wow. Really? This is not to expand to the gold. herO is very simply just going to do... I don't know if it's going to be Glaive Adept. Well, it's likely going to be Glaive Adepts, but just a bunch of gateway units. It's an old strat, but it certainly checks out. Wow. The most Protoss option. Zergling speed just started for Serral. He's got a Roach Warren on the way, but he's trying to cover all his bases. But if you go in every direction at once, you're not getting anywhere fast. The Twilight Council is being chronoed. Serral is already up over 50 drones, and he's making more, which means he is not prepared. He is not respecting the danger this poses at all. He keeps making drones. Serral he has no idea. He is completely in the dark about this. And unfortunately, that's not a player we have here to face herO today, because he probably would have expected it. Oh, is he just gonna lose? The stasis in the main catches 1. He's making exactly 0. He has no units. Glaives is gonna be done. He's making more drones. Oh my god. It's like that. He's just dead. He has no units. It's almost impossible, but okay. Well, that is certainly one way to do things. herO just kind of makes a bunch of units and wins the game. Which, well, I don't know. I feel like Serral going into autopilot there. Full macro and then just not respecting. I got nothing for that. He just dies. He just lost. It's a ladder game. And so many times has that been the experience. Well, game 5. herO's on the board. It's not exactly the most confidence-inspiring strategy. Ye old bunch of adepts shading in completely unexpected. But it's certainly effective. Serral just barely spent any time pretending like he would hold it. You don't have any roaches, you don't have Zergling speed, you have no spine, you're dead. It's over. He could have fought it out and bled out for another minute or two, but herO would have cleaned it up quite quickly. It's at the point where the adepts are just going to kill the roaches as they pop out. There's no question about it. So, bit of a disaster for the finisher, but also one of those losses, especially when you're up 3-0, 3-1. You're like, okay, fine. You got it. Good job. You can move on real easy from that one. That wasn't a drawn-out 37-minute sky toss battle that you barely lost. No. You rip the Band-Aid off. You amputate the foot. You call him a cheeser in your head, you GG in-game, and then you move on with your life. So, don't think Serral's going to be too upset about that one. Gonna keep that in the back of his mind as well. Also, there's no other maps quite like it. No other opportunities that are nearly as easy to bamboozle a top-tier player like that. So, just such a simplistic, like, it's, I think part of the reason it was so successful is its simplicity. It's just, surprise, it's just a bunch of adepts, that's it. And, nope, that's it, that's the whole thing. And I'm going to take this time as we get, over an hour. Wow. I mean, not surprisingly. If you haven't yet, smash that like button and subscribe. Honestly, I don't know if the like button does anything, but if you hit the like button, you feel invested. All right. And you're more likely to watch for longer. And I mean, you're past an hour in unless you skipped here to see if Serral's clean swept. And now you're trying to scroll back to figure out if there was an actual strategy you can copy, and indeed there was. So just go back to the last one. But where was I? But I do appreciate it. We're working on, in the next month or two, 250,000 subscribers. And then a year from now, 10 million subscribers. Exponential growth. Okay. Well, we'll see. But thank you very much. The last year, despite how StarCraft 2, while it's still going, feels like a bit of an awkward time at the moment. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm a bit undecided on the future. But I really enjoy casting. I know I have a demeanor. My voice just kind of sounds like it does. Sorry about that, but best I can. I really like it. I hope I can keep doing it for the foreseeable future. And honestly, even if it takes us doing online tournaments with you supporting, either by watching and ad revenue or just directly sponsoring, we're going to find a way to keep doing it. Is it going to be on the scale with the sheer amount of players and games? I hope so. Kind of doubt it. But stay tuned. And just being here and watching, especially the fact that you're an hour in watching this rant, is amazing. So thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. You done with the sappies? Shut up, Brenda. Let me be real for a second. Sorry. Twilight. The Shady Bunch. With the oracles overhead, providing cover. The queens disputing it. Kind of surprised he didn't complete the shade. A handful of Zerglings, which I think one is a handful, but usually 6, 8, maybe 12. And he's got some on the other side as well. Sneaking in. Gonna get a couple probes before the shield batteries finish. Small wins for Serral. As he's able to deflect. What is this wall, herO? It's like an art form every time. But charge and +1 on the way. Again, this is a bit more strategical than our previous attack, which was just build a bunch of adepts. But not that much more. As 6 more gateways are warping in the main. Charge is halfway done in +1, but this looks completely... Because Serral does not have an overlord at the back of the natural, he does not know that the gas gases are not taken. So he does not know he should have stopped droning about 10 drones ago and needs roaches yesterday. Yes, he has a few roaches on the way. He knows if he's dealing with blank stalkers, he's going to need plenty of roaches and lings. But I don't think he expects the charge lots yet. herO may very well be able to pull this. Oh no, there are 10 more drones on the way. Oh, he has no idea. The charge lots begin the warp in. herO is not all in with this, but he certainly wants to get some damage done. If Serral stays at 70 drones and holds his 4th base, well, he's gonna be in great shape. But here come the charge lots. The oracle's being targeted. The charge lots down at the front line, slicing through a couple roaches right off the bat. +1 is completed. Serral retreats. Drones pulled off the line. Spore Crawler knocks out one of the oracles. Adepts headed for the main. The charge lots maintaining the front line, but they might be the only line momentarily. 9 drones dead. Looking for more. Stalkers behind the mineral line. Charge lots in it. Well, the adepts in the main are clearing out even more. And a few charge lots in the 3rd base. And even though Serral has a tenuous defense he's stringing together, the worker counts are already even and behind this. He's getting double robo. What is the answer to the charge lots? Roaches. What obliterates roaches? Immortals. herO already has the answer to the obvious response, and the adepts, again, well, they're not the centerpiece. They're certainly the icing on the cake here. The adepts killing so many drones. Wow, that's so many charge lots. Oh no. Now, he splits off a few. The charge lots get great surface area, pulls back with the queens. And Serral is behind, both on drones and total supply. Immortals already in production. Blink and +2 attack. Serral has roach speed. And +1 ranged attack, and I'm sure we can come up with a couple other things if we're really trying, but right now it's not good for the finisher. And herO is in pole position in game number 5. Yeah, it took me a second. Don't blame me. All right, don't judge. But the charge lot's just wandering by, eviscerating more drones. A few in the main. The roaches have to scamper back to defend. Zealotlings in the 3rd, in the 4th, in the natural. And Serral has had no opportunity to counterattack. The queens are still wandering around. The zealots are tanky enough. Serral's going to have one big counterattack. There's already... Oh, no, he's not. No, he's not. Oh. Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. Even though Serral's kind of even on supply, the army value is comparable. But these are Immortals and soon-to-be Colossi. Which, I'm not even sure what the Colossi are for besides, you know, complementing this army. Maybe you expected Hydras or something, but... with 4 Immortals already, the Overseer... I mean, a Disruptor on the way as well. This is... it is, an economic and technological disaster for Serral. And there is no tech here that... he's got an Overseer for Contaminate. There are 4 Immortals, 2 Colossi. He's up against +2 attack. There's going to be Disruptors. The hero doesn't have a 4th. Which is kind of surprising, honestly, at this stage, but... and hero comes with a follow-up attack. Corrosive Bile is going to knock down the Rock Tower. But, I think hero can just go right through and awkwardly can shoot the Creep Tumors over the top. In fact, this actually limits the potential flank from Serral. It makes it harder for him to engage the main army. So, Disruptor, here comes the Ravagers from the back. About the best case scenario, he flings out Disruptor shots, chunks up some Ravage, and Serral just taps it out. That's 2 in a row for hero. Catches him with another timing. And hero is back on the board and nearly tied up. Well... he hits him again with those sort of early game Protoss timings that are so dangerous. The things that every Zerg absolutely despises on the ladder. 1/3 Zerg myself. But that... and can take games even off the best player in the world. And honestly, without great scouting or intuition, it's very hard to actually predict it. I'm not going to say, like, he's not going to be able to pull that off again. Because the key, especially to that version of the build, is it looks very much... if you don't scout the gas geysers at the natural, which Serral did not have an Overlord in position. Maybe that's the big mistake, but if you don't scout that, there's no way to tell whether it's blink, or it's charge, or even a depths. So, and while the answer to all 3 can be roaches, when and why and where are a lot harder to answer. So, oh, Serral gets his hatch just in time. Just barely. But, obviously, in the first minute of the game, a couple seconds is still a significant portion, so... those +1 charge lots. Hero mastered so well. Serral, he's prepared. Like, I feel like he's prepared for the later game strats, but he almost has forgotten how to deal with the good old-fashioned Twilight all-ins. The kind of stuff that, like I mentioned, almost every Zerg occasionally falls for, no matter how prepared they think they are. One of those Protoss cards that they pull out of the deck on a semi-regular basis, ideally when least expected. We'll see if Serral... what we haven't seen from Serral at all is real early aggression. No pool first, no Roach all-in himself, no Nidus. The closest, I guess, is the Mutas in Game 1. Or, like, the big Queen attack in Game 2, but... that doesn't... I wouldn't even put that in the same category. It's been all hero taking the initiative, and Serral just responding and adapting. Stargate. 6 for 6. Stargate, the staple of the matchup. Very simply, if you go for anything else, you do not have scouting, and you do not have defense. Even more so with the removal of shield battery overcharge and the addition of energy recharge, oracles were already the choice. But now it doesn't feel like a choice anymore. Which, you can make your comments on the design and whether that's good or bad, but without a Stargate, you can just... Maybe Serral wouldn't do it, but almost every other Zerg certainly would. You can just die to every sort of all-in from Zerg. But the main weakness of Zerg all-ins is a lack of anti-air, which is why the Stargate is such a staple. There's the Oracle. Stalker on the wing. Queen. Playing hard to get. Or is the Adept? More like the Adept, I guess. Fair enough. Is that? Nope. Nope. No. I'm not. The artisanally crafted unique wall-offs that herO comes up with every game have not really affected the outcome of any games yet. So, for better or worse. So, if it works, if it ain't broke, well, Protoss can't fix it either way. They don't have the technology. Twilight and Forge, almost certainly. And Serral has an Overlord in position at the natural in order to scout the gas geysers. Just access to these gas, and you can click on them and see how much gas is being mined. So if they can just take the gas, Serral is definitely going to be watching to make sure they are mining. And yes, the margins are so thin on these builds that it would be a giveaway if he's only mining with like 1 or 2 in gas. And obviously Serral's looking closer. The Overlords, or the Overlord, will get taken out by the Stalkers. He's coming back around, making sure he finishes the assimilators. And at this point, 90% chance it's going to be blinking +1. Not 100. We'll see if Serral cuts before 60 drones this time. But it looks like he's convinced that it is indeed the blinking +1. And this time around, he's right about it. There. On the way, +1. The +1 melee is eventually, in every sort of unit composition, you want Zerglings. And usually Banelings. So investing in +1 melee is often the choice as a way to hedge your bets. Especially against Blink Stalkers. As Zerglings are going to be a strong choice. Just coming out immediately. Blink's still pretty far off, but with the Oracles overhead, you can cover. And this is to force Serral. He's at exactly 60 drones now. So, still has a solid economy, but as the Stalkers come out, he has to build enough units to potentially kill them. He knows that herO won't commit, but what if he does? But he won't, but what if he does? So, though he's building a lot of... He's building way more units than you would if you were just playing defense. I have my suspicions that Serral is more interested in teching up incredibly quickly and doing some damage here. He's got an infestation pit on the way. This could very well be for Swarmhouse. And this map quite well suited to him as well. Oh my. Corrosibal ends up killing Zerglings. The Queen's coming up to help with the Oracles, actually on the edge of the creep here. And a bit of a disjointed scenario. Knocks out one of the Oracles, but loses a Ravager. Now, what does Serral do as soon as the infestation pit finishes? He's up to 73 drones. Of course he is. Are we going straight to Hive? Yeah. Hydra Den. Then I assume the Hive. No 4th base. So, Lurkers. The choice. Melee attacks level 1 completed. There's the Hive started. Lurker Den takes the same amount of time as the Hive does to complete. So it'll be lined up alongside it. And if he can get there before herO has a robotics facility, herO just now taking the 4th. He's going to take it on the low ground to the south of his main, which is kind of an important part to cover, because on this map, with the main base so exposed, Overlord Drop and Nidus are major threats. So you kind of preempt that by taking a base there. Of course, it is quite a vulnerable location. Oracle lighting up the Zerglings, but will be forced to cancel. The +1 Lings getting through. Lurker Den is on the way. Serral There's a stasis that actually catches a big chunk of lings. And enough blink stalkers out here. There are no lurkers. Hydras are just now coming online. These are +1 blink stalkers with some oracles in tow. This is a very dangerous timing for Serral. He has hundreds of minerals and gas invested in tech that has not yet paid off. So, very important to hold on for now. The Zergling counter will eventually work through. The Stalker will eventually work through it, but now engaging outside the 4th base. Stalker's blinking back. Oracle's trying to get involved, but there's enough Hydras and Queens that they can't really do so. Big Zergling counter, but I think there are enough Stalkers over there. Ooh, Corrosive Bile lands in the center of everything. Zergling's looking for the 3rd. Stalker's chasing him down. Not sure if herO will have something at the wallet, but he comes around towards Serral's 3rd base. Stasis on the way. Oracle's 1 down, looking for 2. Almost gets 3, but the Oracles will live with like 1.1 Oracles of HP between them. But oh no, the Stalker's coming in from both angles. herO may have saved the Oracles, but he loses a huge chunk of his army. Serral keeping him busy on all sides of the map. And now he has the economy, has 4 bases. Lurkers are on the way. Lurker range has already begun. herO is fighting against the clock right now. He has no tech to deal with this. You cannot fight range lurkers in any real number, like 5+. That's a real number. Anything below that, not a real number. Okay, now we've established that. 5+ range lurkers with blink stalkers, it's not going to happen. So, the stasis ward's dotting the field. Robotics facility starts the moment he sees a lurker, but that moment is far too late. He still has detection via Oracle, but Serral has the initiative now. He only needs a few lurkers at home to defend. He can send everything else into a counterattack. The robotics facility is exposed. Brendan, no! God! The toes! Almost steps into the stasis. Serral setting up a big counter. Templar Archives now on the way. herO. So it was a wall, if he was in it. Big recall. But losing map control here is tantamount to losing the game. Serral's up 50 supply. He has better tech in a better position. Here comes the lurkers. herO has lost any opportunity to keep him off his back, or his front, or really out of the general area of his base. The Revelation spots him, and it's not many lurkers, but the Robo's out in front of everything. He's pumping observers of all things. Storm is a distant dream. herO has no answer to Serral's army composition. He's still gonna go for it anyways. Doesn't really have a choice here. Gonna pull back off the base. Adrenal gland's about to complete for the Zerglings. Another Oracle. He gets a Revelation, but Fleet Beacon on the way. Stretch goals. Certainly. The Blink Stalkers try to go forward. Will get eviscerated by the lurkers, and Serral is now on match point of the Masters Coliseum 8. A decisive victory. herO unable to capitalize on the Blink Stalker timing. Serral surviving to Hive. It looked a little dicey for a moment with the amount of Stalkers on the field, but Serral kept him busy on the other side of the map. He allowed his Hive to finish. And now, well, Game 7, and it feels weird that it might not be the end, but Serral in the bottom left of ley lines, herO in the top right, in the blue. It feels like we're getting to that stage of a series where players are starting to get tired. At least herO. We see that sometimes where players will just go for it. Then again, herO kind of started off the series like that, so I don't know if I can read into it that much. I'm just trying to come up with something clever to say that isn't continually scratching my head about herO's wall, but not succeeding on either front. Serral doesn't usually seem to be affected by the length of games. He can get frustrated, but he kind of starts the game. Have you ever seen his streams? And we've done some commentary on those, and with Serral as well. If you haven't watched me and Serral do some coaching of lower level players, including myself, make sure to go check that out afterwards. But Bronze to GM with Serral is the title. Shameless plug. Like and subscribe. But it doesn't seem like, I don't know if I've ever seen Serral just say, heck it, I'm going. Sometimes it's a calculated risk, like, I don't have the army, so I'm just going. But never does it feel like he tilted his way into it. He's not invulnerable to mistakes, obviously. And you can hide things from him, as we've already seen with herO. But getting tilted doesn't seem to be something that... well, I don't think you become a multi-world champion and the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. A game that is... like, it's like a pinball machine for most people. Just thinking about hitting... Hey, you gonna play 10 ladder games today? If you play 10 ladder games today, good things will happen to you. Otherwise, your life will suck. All right, how do you feel? Feel good? No? Haven't played 10 ladder games in more than half of Max Pax's life as he's turning 18? I think he's 18, actually, but... oh, well. Now imagine... not only that, but historically, Maru is a great / terrible example of this on both sides. You're gonna get it. Maru, who multiple times has won GSL and then gone out in the first round the next season. Not every time. Obviously, to win 9 times, you need to do consistently well, but it doesn't feel like Serral has ever had that low. He's had dips, but he's never completely felt like, I won, now I can take a break for a bit. He just maintains that even keel. herO has always been a roller coaster. Win, lose, anything in between. There's been some ties in there, but that's just who herO is. The drunken brawler Protoss. We'll see if he can have the right drink before this one. Overlord in an awkward position. We're 7 for 7 on Stargates. Another gate behind it, hidden from the Ovi. Just one, which is not a huge tell yet. And he didn't energy recharge the first Oracle. So he tries to burn through some of the larvae. If he... well, he's gonna get a couple more. Brenda, why are they just allowed to fly in and kill all our workers? That doesn't seem very nice. Like, it feels like every game, they're just poking and prodding, and we just sit here and we take it. When are we gonna take it back? Bad news, Susan. Serral's winning. That's a good point. I feel like you're conflating some things in this bit here, but you do have a point with that one. So, Glaive to depths! And this time he's trying to mask it a bit. This is not a just waltz across with a bunch of adepts the moment you have them, but he's really trying to sell Serral. He's getting the 2 gases at his natural, and he's certainly trying to sell Serral on the idea of Blink Stalkers. There's a Roach Warren just started. That's quite late for a Roach Warren if you are expecting some early aggression. And herO has 47 probes and he's adding more. So this is like... it's just Glaive to Depths as a strategy as opposed to an all-in. And the Overlord will spot... he's hiding the Adepts in the main. He's already warped in a bunch. The one time we learn how to wall. The Zerglings, he's warping in more Adepts, but that's still not a tell. 10 more drones on the way for Serral. And at what point does this go from concern to alarm? And it's at this point. As he throws the shade across the map, he's already halfway there because of how it works. Resonating Glaives is on the way. But Serral at 68 drones just started double Evo in a 4th. And a stasis had actually caught about half the third base, including a queen. One of the queens gonna be ripped apart by the resonating glaives. The roaches are on the way. He's actually, no! We cannot get out. They are coming. Okay. Is he just gonna die to glaives again? Oh my, I'm getting such intense deja vu from like every Serral PvZ finals ever. Well, Serral still has 66 drones and he's working on roaches. He does not have roach speed on the way. He's just gonna kill the hatch, it looks like. He's killing multiple roaches. The queen count is down to 1. The oracles are mostly uncontested if he kills this spore. In fact, they are uncontested. The adept stasis. There's a few zerglings ready to counter, but... Okay, well... well, the 4th base. Yeah, and herO... Wow, that's... 18 adepts. And Serral just taps out. herO with another Twilight timing. And again, Serral caught completely off guard. It's going from a fluke to a trend. And we still have a series on our hands. Well. He got him again. Serral completely unprepared for the adepts. No respect there. He didn't even, like, his roach horn was so late. He built so many drones. I kind of feel like Serral's playing the full series. He's like, I have a best of 9. If he doesn't do the glaives, I'm probably ahead. If he does, it could be bad, but why would I hamstring myself against everything else in order to defend the glaives? Well, here we go. Serral 4, herO picks up 3. And now it's starting to be a bit more concerning for the finisher, who, off to a 3-0 lead to start, that has dwindled dramatically. I'm not even sure, like, if you were to have a build, the hard part of Zerg, and even Serral falling prey to it, there is no real middle ground build. A middle ground build ends up with you behind. That is why Serral is not, like, just building 5 roaches just to be safe. Because if he goes Blink Stalkers later on, and you're at, like, 55 drones and they're at 60 probes going Blink Stalkers and you just have roaches, you're in a terrible spot. You're going to die. It's going to take longer, for sure, but you are. So, really, Serral is relying on his scouting. And herO, what herO's done is kind of pull something in front of his eyes, convince him it's not going to be glaive to depths. And he pulled it off again. Now, how many times can you play that same card, but in different ways? So far, 2. 3 if you want to argue the charge lot on it. But the key part is all 3 wins have been some variety of that play. The surprise! Bunch of gateway units. What you expect every other barcode who isn't cannon rushing to do on the ladder. So, but it's not like Serral has such a decisive advantage in a longer macro game that he could just hard counter whatever early on. No. All the macro games have been close. They've gone Serral's way, but they've been close. And if he was a little further behind economically, they definitely would have tilted towards herO. We'll see if herO is tilted, or if he's able to capitalize yet again. We're still on match point for Serral, but herO staying competitive. Third base. On the way for Serral. And a Stargate. Game 8 of Stargate out of 8. The Ocho. Thank you for sticking with me. I will say, these best of 9s, I like them a lot. Obviously, if it was more one-sided, then it would feel pretty painful. But in this case, and ideally, when you have a good tournament, you're not going to have a super stomp in the finals. Clem versus Serral notwithstanding. But it does feel a lot more dramatic to have best of 9s, even compared to best of 7. Of course, and it's the end of a tournament. It doesn't ruin your tournament scheduling, because it's over after this, no matter how long it takes. That is kind of the best and worst part of StarCraft 2, and tournaments in general. A best of 3 or best of 5 could be 10 minutes or an hour and a half. Like, there is almost no other sport or esport that has that range. Yes, a Dota game could be a 20-minute stomp or a 120-minute slugfest. But there is like a minimum, at least. And there's a decent average, whereas StarCraft 2, both the best and worst parts are how dynamic it is. That's why it's so stressful to hit that ranked button, besides the fact you can't dilute the responsibility by blaming your teammates. So, like, this series could have been 9 games in 30 minutes, or it could have been 5 in 3 hours. I'm just saying the same thing in different ways now, but I mean, that's part of my job, making it sound clever despite seeing pretty much the same build every time. And it's herO's job to make it look like the same build every time, with a clever segue into something else. And there's a robotics facility on the way. This is a mana build, I think, which mana used to actually beat Serral in a single game, but still to great effect. Not too long ago, maybe in the same tournament, I'm not 100% sure. Getting that robo early, allowing you to head towards Archon drop. Now, is that... No, he's getting a robo base, so it's not that. That's crazy. Well, he's definitely taking a different angle. Is it the right one? Or is he just being obtuse? Either way, Serral's going to be acutely aware of any changes in the build. Keeping tabs. He has a Roach 1 and done, +1 melee is on the way. Decent creep spread so far, especially considering how early. The Oracles sweeping up as much of it as possible. And herO has the third base on the low ground. Quite exposed, but also already fully established. A second robotics facility is on the way. Two more gas geysers. Both players. It feels like we're getting to that. I really don't want to mess it up now. Serral starts a Spire. I think he spotted the robo. It's pretty clear now that it's going to be a more defensive style, and the Mutas could be devastating. What a bookend that would be. The Oracle almost taken down. If he manages to carve open another game with Mutas just like game 1. Spore Crawler. Is it quite in range? There is an Observer. It's not quite in range. He doesn't spot the Spire. Oh, no. And he misses it by just a few pixels. But those might be the most important pixels of the series. That base. Seeing all these gas geysers is not necessarily a giveaway. He doesn't know for sure. There's going to be Blink Stalkers. He's going for a Colossus Blink Stalker timing. Serral doesn't have that many Mutas in the bank. I don't know if he's just going to hold off until he puts on some aggression. And then... yeah. He forces the Blink Stalker. Okay, now's the time. Now's the time for Mutas. Do you agree? The Oracles. He's got 26. He just drove the Blink... 7 Mutas on the way. Extended Thermal Lance is done. But he has successfully convinced herO that he needs to defend on the ground. And that is the perfect time to take to the skies and completely circumvent his defenses. Serral's nearly maxed out, but here comes herO with a full-on Colossus gateway timing. Now, in a heads-up fight, this army is still deadly. He's got extended thermal lance, he's got blink stalkers, he's got several colossi to thin out the zerglings behind and make it a lot easier for the blink stalkers to get damage done. He might be able to snipe off one of the colossi, though. Jumping on top of everything. Knocks out a colossus. The mutas are headed towards the main. I don't know if there's anything there at all to defend. And herO might be forced into an almost base trade scenario. Oh no. It's a disaster. The main base completely undefended. He has to warp in stalkers. And now he's going to try to jump the blink stalkers on the ground. Of course, there's enough zealots in position. The stalkers are actually just dying to the mutas. herO still has a lot of units. His army supply 95 to 122. Assassinates a queen, knocks out the creep tumors. Colossi still moving forward. The zerglings wrapping around the back. Charge lots box it out. He's trying to get rid of the zerglings as quick as possible, but the colossi distracted by the roaches, and the mutas still running around back at home. But there's really not that many units here for Serral. Loses the immortals. One more coming up, more charge lots. 8 drones dead. Serral comes in with the mutas yet again. Killing more and more probes. One Phoenix comes out, he should just be able to kill it off. herO late on the draw, in a bad position to deal with the mutas. herO still has enough economy to continue warping in stalkers, but he's running out of time here. Serral's still maxed out. He's coming in for another pass. The Colossi trying to draw fire, maybe getting a little bit too forward. Almost loses one, it's in the red. Dodges the corrosive bow. The mutas come back in towards the main. Another warping of stalkers. The hatchery nearly dead. Banelings rolling through, eating a lot of the damage. The Colossi, too late stepping back. Archon's taking a lot. Warp Prism coming in. Blink stalkers have to kite back. Observer with everything. 130 to 180 supply. herO keeps trying to get the damage done, but this army just doesn't have the DPS. He doesn't have any splash damage, but one Colossus. He's clearly microing on the other side of the map as well, trying to deal with the mutas, which Serral just keeps bringing in. The probes are being slaughtered, and Serral on the doorstep of victory. herO still with a dangerous army, but he kills the hatch. But Serral now has the center base and up to the north. There's no defenses, so many probes being killed, 22 probes and counting. 15 in the last minute. He recalls or just brings the... It had to be a recall. But herO. His army supplies, his worker count is down to 42. The only saving grace is that Serral is just now building an infestation pit. He doesn't have Hive. He's not going to have lurkers anytime soon. So herO could still build up to a 200 supply army. That is very dangerous to Serral. But it's looking less and less likely. The muta's just ignoring the stalkers. The Archon's nowhere to be seen. Here comes herO again. +2 melee attacks on the way. There's a single disruptor. Oh, the Banelings! Has to be careful of his own stalkers. Another disruptor in the front. Could potentially kite back with the Warp Prism, but the Banelings just rolling through, taking so much damage. Down goes the Colossus. The Prism taking damage. The Archons are evaporating. The mutas are too much. And it looks like Serral will be your Masters Coliseum 8 champion 2 years in a row. herO challenged him. And 2 years in a row, herO will falter. It's not nearly enough. Serral of 100 supply. The final score will be 5 games to 3. And in the first major tournament since the newest balance patch and Serral returning from his military service, he will claim victory in dominating fashion, yet again proving his status as the man to beat. The King in the North has returned. The finisher finishes yet another tournament. in first place. And thank you to Masters Coliseum 8 for such an epic tournament. We're going to see even more games from all the players. I think they're all worth watching if they're good ones. And most of them are. So, thank you again to SC Boy and MC8. Thank you for watching. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. Thank you to our Mule tier patrons for bringing in so many minerals. Big Jiggy Dork, Mario N. I sincerely hope I made your day, a significant chunk of it, just a little bit better. And good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.
Hell, it's about